Hey everybody, this is Wraith Gaming coming to you. This is test server 6.2.2, I think. I'm not sure. It's around that. My hangar is a little different only because I was playing it earlier. Wanted to show something. Now, Pixonic, if you are watching this video, I have a question. See the stats that you put on Mender where it says support robot activates its defense system, speeds up and repairs itself and its all allies in range of the ability with, get this part, 4 pulses. Right? Well, in the previous test server that I did with Mender and Wayland, I counted the amount of pulses that you gave to Mender, and it was 7 pulses. My question is why did you put Mender back to 4 pulses? I mean, if you're going to buff this robot along with Wayland, why not keep 7 pulses? It's not like it's gonna be any better than Nightingale or Tier. 7 pulses. If you're not satisfied with 7, go down to 5 or 6. You know, but don't leave it at, don't put it back down to 4. It's just, it makes it seem weak and useless, and it's not like it's a old school robot like Golem or Leo or Destrier. I mean, this is still part of the meta, just a little bit older, you know? I mean, all I'm asking is, if you're going to say you're going to buff a robot, stick to what you said. I mean, if you're going to buff an older robot, a slightly older robot like Mender and Wayland, stick to that. Unless you get a bunch of people saying they don't like the idea, then I'd understand, but at least let those who actually voted for this know that you didn't buff it because of the majority of players that did test server did not like the idea. But beyond that, if you just put it back to where it was before, because you thought it was too powerful, how can that be powerful compared to Nightingale or Tier? This robot has 3 weapons, 2 light, 1 medium. I mean, it's not like it's gonna conquer the world of war robots, you know, because it's not as strong as many of the other new meta robots, you know. Anyway, it goes the same for Wayland. I mean, did you alter its stats too back to normal? I mean, anyway, I hope I'm wrong, because when this particular test server goes to be downloaded and into live server, and I count my Mender's heal pulses at 4, then I'll know that you really didn't care about the player's input on the buffs to Wayland and Mender, which kind of makes me feel like, what's the point of us players doing test server for you if you're not going to buff it, you know? I mean, if some players didn't like it, then go down, you know, like 1 point or something. Or when it comes to Mender's heal pulses, instead of being 7, go down to 5 or 6, like I said a minute ago or so. But don't disappoint all the fans or all the players that actually do like Mender. I mean, granted, when it first came out along with Wayland, I actually liked Wayland better. But when I started my journey to go to Champions League, and I had my Mender in my hangar, I became a fan of this robot. So all I'm asking is, if you're going to buff this robot like you said you were going to last test server, then buff it. If you don't want to buff it all the way up to 7 pulses, go down to 5 or 6, you know? But don't keep it at normal 4. Okay? That's all I'm asking. I mean, it's not really going to make much of a difference compared to, at least I don't think it's going to make much of a difference compared to the power of Nightingale, you know? Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. And to all my viewers and subscribers, and the main theme to this test server was drones, Storm, the nerf to Storm, and the nerf to Ravana. Well, I'm sure other YouTubers have covered Storm and Ravana by now, along with the module phase shift. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really concerned about covering that. I was mostly concerned with just trying to get my point across to Big Sonic about why they put Mender back to normal instead of buffing it. And did they do the same to Wayland? I have no idea. Like some other YouTubers have said, you can never tell with test server. Well, I'm actually greatly disappointed if they went back to putting Mender back to normal. With all that being said, let's take a look at drones. Yes, you see drones and drones that you haven't seen in test server before, like this one, Discus, or this one, Defender. At least I haven't seen these ones. Well, I was playing around with these drones when I was not recording it, so now I want to show you what I have actually set up with the eye. As you can see, all these 8 spots where microchips are, these were all empty, blank spaces. Well, I ended up going into, say we go into this lower bottom left one. You want to go into the store, basically purchase for 20 gold. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same when it's the live server. I can only hope it is. And there you go. They basically change. Now, here's the really interesting part. I purchased all these because I didn't know how to get them into some drones' empty spaces, which I'll get to in a minute. Let me show you something. Combined microchips at the bottom of the screen. This video. See this? This is where you can put multiple microchips. You've got at the top, underneath all the silver, gold, platinum, and power cells boxes, you got T1, T2, T3. Does it have a T4? No. Well, how do you get these at? Well, you can either go one at a time, or you can just press autofill. Watch. Now, it only fills up all this T3 section with purple microchips, which are T3. Can you do the same thing if you have your entire T3? Can you do the same thing with T2 or T1? Actually, you can. Watch this. See? You can completely fill it up if you just press autofill, but you have to have enough. I found this to be very interesting. Now, here's the interesting part. One thing I never did earlier, I don't have enough of the blue ones to do the T1s, so those are the silver, the gray ones. So what happens if I press combine with all these T3 microchips? The combine at the bottom of this video, where it says combine for 500. Let's find out. New microchip created. Okay. You see? I learned something new. Now, I'd say at least 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was looking at these drones when they were showing all the prices to be 1 gold each on everything. And I kind of asked Pixonic to make this stuff affordable, meaning keeping it at 1. Well, I guess in their twisted way of thinking, no offense, Pixonic, he decided to amp the price up a little bit. You notice how it says, when you look at this thing, it says in stock right above install. Well, that in it, another one says in stock, 4 of them. That shows how many of those particular microchips you have in stock. Now, here's the thing I wanted to point out to Pixonic on something I noticed earlier. Notice there's 2 different color greens on the microchips. You've got the darker green and you've got the lighter green. If you press the darker green, nothing happens. If you press the lighter green, it installs. Well, here's my question, Pixonic, and I'm hoping you're seeing this. I was really confused by this part. I had to really look at this carefully just to be able to see this. The majority of rookie players out there is going to get really confused by this. Could you please turn the darker green button of install into maybe either a much darker green or a different color, leaving the lighter green, preferably even brighter than that, what you have for install, or a completely opposite color from the ones that you cannot install. Having it two different color greens might make people a little confused, you know what I'm saying? I know I was at first. So we're talking players that are, I mean, from just barely starting the game all the way up through till what, level 30. I mean, a lot of these players are going to get confused by this whole thing when they first see it. And if you're only going to do this for players, for example, I'm not saying you are, I'm saying if you put this unlock this for players that are at level 30, players who actually reach level 30 and they see this, they're going to be confused. Even if they see my video and other YouTube videos, there's still going to be new players out there that haven't seen this stuff. So having either much brighter and much darker color greens, or two different colors completely opposite of each other, that way players won't get confused. I know I was when I was really tired when I woke up this morning playing around with this. But with that being said, I want to show all my viewers something else here. Now, if you take a look at the list of microchips that are on this, if you notice, it looks like an attack plus type of microchip. Well, since I've actually put 10 on this T2 and I'm able to combine them all into one, what do I get? Well, or you can just leave them on there. I don't know if it actually helps, but let's take a look at, say, this one. Okay. Auxiliary intensifier, unassailable intensifier. So basically it made one of those two. Do you understand? To all my viewers out there and subscribers, do you understand? Now, obviously if Pixonic does keep it at the price it is at right now, you're still looking at a lot of gold that you have to save up if you're a free-to-play player. But hopefully it won't cost an arm and a leg gold. Say for example, the same price that Last Stand costs. What is it, 2,500 or 5,000 gold? If it does, then all I can say to you, Pixonic, is do you really expect free-to-play players to enjoy this? No. My advice is either keep it at the price that you put it in this test server or make it cheaper, preferably cheaper, because the majority of players are not going to want to fool around with the drones if they're going to have to pay a fortune in gold just to be able to use their drone in battle. Now, this is where you can see all the microchips installed, how much it's going to cost on power cells to activate, the total cost of gold, battery capacity, stats. Here's the interesting part I found was the word drone. It says, do you think the eye looks cute? Don't be fooled. It's powerful machine capable of wasting your enemies with its 2 guns and enough energy to support many more functions simultaneously. Yeah. Well, here's another thing I actually found I was having problems with. See this, the right side with red letters, the empty spot where the microchip should be? Well, this is where I had problems. See all the dark green color? This is where I got confused. I was trying to press all this thinking I actually could put one of these on there and nothing happened. Well, come into the store, even if you do press refresh and you go to buy any one of these, doesn't mean it's going to be able to fit in that slot. See? This is what I'm talking about, Pixonic. That part is really confusing. How is it in this one? It's called starter. This is the starter drone. How are players supposed to enjoy this particular drone, this very first starter drone, when they can't put anything on the second slot for microchips if they don't get any of the microchips that go into it? That's something that I found very frustrating and confusing, and I still do. What I've come to learn about this particular drone in that spot on the microchip is that it needs this particular T1 type of microchip, and the store doesn't always give it to us. Basically, we have to wait forever just to be able to get a T1 in test server. I mean, I can press reset, refresh, 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 refresh. It goes on forever and ever, even with free commercials, and you're still not going to get the T1 to put in the starter. None of the gold None of the T4, none of the T3, none of the T2 microchips are going to fit in this spot. How do I know? Take a look. It's all dark green color. I could continue buying all of these, and you're basically telling the player you're screwed because that drone just won't fit that particular, any of those three type. T2, 3, and 4 won't fit in a slot where T1 is supposed to be. Is this what you want for the players? Whether they're free to play or completely expert for the past 3 to 6 years? I mean, what player would want a drone that you can't put a microchip in? Whether they're total experts or they're a newbie just barely starting the game. This is a ripoff. And this is test server. See, I can continue pressing and I still won't get the T1 for that particular drone. Unless I actually removed this one, but will I be able to fit anything else in this? T1. But you still got a problem. It's not giving money T1s. See, it's only for, it's not really showing anything. All I can say to this idea, Pixonic, is you do need to fix that, because it's not exactly fair to the player base. See what I mean? What's the point of using starter drone if you can't fill both the slots for microchips in it? I mean, the first slot can, but the second slot refuses to take any other type of microchip in it. And I'm not purchasing any of these because it's just a waste of time. Anyway, I think I've given all of you a decent enough example of what to expect from. You see this? This drone is no different. Wow, even T1 doesn't go on this drone. Must be a particular type of microchip. You really want my thoughts on this? Well, here's an idea, Pixonic. Instead of having 3 that change at random no matter what, why don't you have 4 slots? Now just listen here. 4 slots for 4 different microchips. If you're going to do random, that's fine, but have going from left to right, T1 slot, T2 slot, T3 slot, T4 slot. That way when it refreshes, it'll be for that particular type of microchip. That way it's fair to the player base. And if they don't manage to get the microchip they're looking for, well, they can still play the free commercial to refresh it and hopefully get something that they are looking for. That way T1, 2, 3, and 4 will have their own slots, and whatever refreshes, say T4 refreshes, it won't be turning into a T3, it'll be turning into a different type of microchip for T4. Same goes for T1. You know what I'm saying? That way it's fair to everybody in the game, and there's no frustration over it. This is just my idea. You can either take it or leave it. I don't care, but it's way less frustrating than what you got going on in this test server. Because with the way it's going now, you can't exactly put this particular defense mitigation microchip T1 into this defender drone. Oh yeah, you could probably try to take it off a different drone, but what else are you going to put in there? Oh, might get lucky with something else. Well, there's no guarantee that you're always going to have that kind of luck, though. See, these particular microchips are finicky about what you give to each drone, and it's not always fair to the player base struggling to find the right microchip for each drone. You say that it's total customization, yet I still see some frustrating spots in this whole thing, you know. Well, that's all I have to say about this whole thing. Let me take a look here. I've got this one covered, this one covered, this one covered, not covered. So the only two I'm not going to use are starter and defender, which is really a shame because I really wanted to try defender. I also got wasp and good guy. To all my viewers and subscribers, sorry for the delay. Let's show some battle with this situation. Hopefully you guys at Pixonic will fix the issues with the drones. Let me show everybody what I'm talking about. Let's start with discus. No, I don't know what microchips I have on them. I wasn't paying full attention. Watch this. I've pressed its ability. 1, 2, 3, 4. You call that buffed? Yes, I have a jump module on my Mentor. Why? You can get to your teammates faster. Well, I think I've showcased. Let's try the wasp. Oh, I guess it is true. can't change a beacon when Yvonne's ability is active. Interesting. I actually kind of like that idea. Means it's not going to be the demigod everybody wants it to be. Or Mr. Invincibility. I'm not complaining about the storms. They seem just fine. What the hell is your problem? I am really liking the flames on this mender. Tried this idea because I never tried. Here's another thing, Pixonic. You've given so much. I see so many Ming and Arthur on the battlefield these days. I hardly ever, even the new robot, I hardly ever see the kid. Honestly, I think the kid needs a little bit more. Just my opinion. These players are acting like it's live server, and it's kind of wondering why. Trying to win so desperately instead of testing things out? Unless they're actually trying to test their own setups just so they can actually improve their own live server, which I understand, but it's ridiculous. Well, the amount of power cells it takes to activate some drones, it's a bit stupid. 50 to activate this one. Wonder, does it cost 50 if you only have a few amount of microchips? You're trying to uninstall a battery microchip. The remaining battery capacity. I see. So it costs less power cells if you have less microchips. Let me see. You know, Pixonic, I think you should have each drone with only maximum of 6 microchips. Be fair to players that are using all these power cells. Or just take power cells out of the equation when it comes to the drones. Oops, didn't even put anything on this one. Except for one. Anyway, showed you my input, Pixonic, and everybody else. What do I say to this whole thing, Pixonic? Honestly, I think you should scrap the whole idea. I'm still trying to understand how these drones work in the battlefield. And, well, I guess I could see a little bit. I mean, I was able to survive a little bit longer when it came to the defending type drones. I just don't like the idea of paying gold just to put more microchips on them. It's not exactly fair. Personally, I think you should just scrap the idea on the whole drones thing, but that's just me. Mender, please buff it to the stat you had last week, and if not that, at least 5 or 6 pulses with a little bit of speed. And if you buffed or put Wayland back, I don't know what you did, but let it stay buffed, you know. And Storm seems fine to me. Ravana, actually I kind of like what you did, not allowing players to capture beacons when you're using its ability. Along with that, what was the module called? Phase shift? I never tested that part, but I kind of like it. All I'm asking you guys at Sonic is let Wayland and Mender stay buffed, become buffed, you know. It wouldn't hurt. I think it would keep the balance between them and the other healing robots. Thanks, and to everybody out there seeing this video, see you in the next video. Bye.